what I would like to know from you is just two questions. One is about your most recent or upcoming projects.
Okay.
And second, about the most interesting art scene in your city.
Oh, okay. I can probably answer the first question a little bit more easily than I can the second question. So I'll give you a little bit of warning about that. The most recent project has been very simply putting together a selection of my writings over the past few decades, since the mid-late 80s, for JRP, which hopefully will be coming out in the spring of 2013. And so I've really spent the past year or so focusing on that. My editor is John Miller, the artist and writer, and that has required essentially going back into a lot of my writing and rethinking a lot of these texts, whether they be longer essays or shorter pieces, and essentially revising everything, and also developing a kind of a broader conceptual platform to locate those ideas in terms of a contemporaneity, in terms of the contemporary period. And that process is, we submitted it to JRP a few months ago, and again, we're hoping it'll be out this spring. And what this allowed me to do is to sort of rethink where I am in relation to art, contemporary art, or art generally speaking. And in a sense, I think it's embodied in the title of the book, which is Art as a Problem. So it's meant to be a bit of a provocation, I suppose, but it also in a very candid way is meant to reflect that at this point, after being a critic and curator and educator for, really since the 1980s, I think I've come to the point where I can admit that art is it doesn't have to be a problem for anyone else, but it's a problem for me. That's not to say that I'm not engaged with a set of practices and a set of ideas and a set of publics. It's just that I've come to the perhaps regrettable conclusion that I think perhaps other people have come to as well, that not only criticism but criticality is perhaps a lost vocation in the world today, that is in the contemporary art world today, in the sense that what criteria do we utilize to determine or to evaluate criticism and criticality? And that's one of the issues that is addressed in the book in many different ways in relation to a particular set of critical issues that have developed over the past 2 decades, as well as in relation to art practice. So I try to interrogate why I believe that art is a problem, as opposed to the notion of art being a solution, or art being effective, or art being effective, that I'm interested in really in probing the notion of art being a problem. Now, art is not a problem in the sense that repressive politics is a problem, or authoritarianism is a problem, or unequal development is a problem, or late capitalism is a problem, or neoliberalism is a problem, certainly, and poverty is a problem, and injustice are central problems. But I suppose on some level I'm trying to demystify the notion that somehow art can play a role in solving those kinds of broader macro or micro political or macro or microeconomic conditions. That's not to say, however, and I make it clear in the book, that art and artists have not served vital roles within particular societies at particular times in their development, whether it's the United States, whether it's certain countries in South America, whether it's in the European context. Certainly, I don't want to trivialize that. And in fact, we understand the history of those movements, and we understand the participation of artists and ideas and practices at particular moments in time, and that they've been important. However, I suppose writing from the perspective of, for better or for worse, a New Yorker who's obviously taught and done things outside of New York, but I suppose fundamentally a New Yorker, and thinking about the presence of criticism or even notions of critical curating within this context and in other contexts, I'm worried about this, and I try to articulate my concerns in this book, while at the same time taking into account my own contradictions and to a certain extent some of my own hypocrisies when it comes to bringing up these issues in terms of, my position, my class position, I suppose, my educational position, and those issues as well, which are part and parcel of what allows me to be critical and what allows me to be pessimistic to a certain extent, or what allows me to be skeptical. So that's been the major project, is getting this book finished. And another book that I'm participating in is a book for Afterall in London, which is part of their series of exhibition histories. And I'm co-authoring a book with Helmut Draxler that looks at, it's a comparative analysis between culture and action, which was the 1993 exhibition in Chicago, curated by Mary Jane Jacob, which was one of the first broader platforms of, let's say, socially engaged art practices within an urban context, at least in terms of the curatorial platform. And the book analyzes that in relation to Project Unité, which took place in Firminy, that Yves Opetitolo curated also in 1993. So my essay focuses more on culture and action in Chicago, and Helmut Draxler's focuses more on Firminy, but we also discuss the other exhibitions as well.